Welcome to Cheaters Theater. Over 95% of you watch without subscribing. Please like the video, subscribe, and turn on the bell. And tell us, where are you watching from? We'd love to know. Let's begin. Jace is pushed back by the shock wave of the blast, the explosion defining the destruction it leaves in its wake. He crawls out of the wreckage, seeing the horrible scene of angled bodies of his entire squad scattered around him, then the shocking sight of his best friend blown in half. The armored convoy truck is on its side, the weight of it crushing Miguel's legs. His cries of pain echo in the air. Jace, Miggy, hang on, man, I'm coming. He tries to get to his friend, but the enemy gunfire is preventing him from reaching him. No matter how many of the enemy he takes down, his friend, whose legs have been blown off by the explosion, is now being burned alive by the wreckage that is pinning him down. He then sees it, the homemade explosive landing next to his friend. He kills and aims to get to his friend, yet more enemies come in place of the fallen. Then it happens. His friend, screaming in desperation for his brother in arms to aid him. Jace. The explosion of the lightning strike wakes him from his slumber, his bed drenched in the sweat of his newest nightmare. U.S. Army veteran Jace Cole, also known as Wild Jack, gathers himself as he struggles with what was dream and what is real. He can still feel the heat of the desert and explosions around him, still smells the blood of his squad, his friends, his brothers. He takes breaths and focuses on the painting his mom made for him while he was in Afghanistan. He looks at it, knowing it would be here in his room since he got it when he came home for good. He then remembers his techniques of dealing with his anxiety and PTSD. Understand the shame. Let go of the guilt. After saying this to himself as he breathes, he is home again. He wipes away the sweat from his face as he takes it in again. God damn it. That damn dream again. The memory plays in his head nonstop despite it being over 4 years now. 4 years since he and his squad were sent on a mission that was doomed to fail from the start. His entire squad was wiped out in the process, including his best friend Miguel. They were entering uncharted territories and told that no enemy units had used the place for years, and to set up for a future attack on the enemy areas nearby, only to be ambushed by the same enemy units that were not supposed to be there. Turns out the suits and ribbons upstairs knew there were enemies there, but used his squad to bait them out. They were decimated as a result. He recalls how he was left for dead when the enemy mocked his slain brothers, disrespecting their bodies. They even recorded the horrible attack and desecration of their bodies to send the U.S. military a message. He wanted to take them all out, but he was wounded and too weak to do anything. They thought he was gone himself, hence why they left him. It was pure luck that he was discovered by a scouting drone that passed the area by chance, and pararescue teams picked him up only days later. If not for the fact that he tended his wounds as best as he could, they would be picking up a corpse and not him, breathing barely. As he gets out of bed, he brushes his hand to reach out to his wife, whose space is empty. Amber. He looks at the clock, and it is 3 a.m. on a Saturday. His heart sinks, and a feeling of anger builds as his mind turns like the gears of a clock as to what is happening, for it confirms what all the proof and evidence he has been gathering is showing. She's with that scumsucker again. This all started months ago. His wife Amber had been married to him for 8 years now. They first met in a local bar called O'Malley's Bar. He bumped into her by accident playing pool. He recalls how smitten he was with how beautiful she was. They were married 2 years after their initial meeting when Jace left the army. They loved each other and were seen as one of the couples in their community. Even after the war, despite his PTSD, she was there for him and he was there for her. Then, almost 2 years ago, things began to change when she got a promotion in her accounting job at the federal building. It was not overnight, but she began taking little jabs and insults at him, then conveniently forgot important dates such as his mom's birthday, who loved her so much, and their anniversary. Every time he addressed it, she would give him this attitude that came from nowhere. Then there was the time he decided to cook her favorite meal for her, fried catfish with butter and garlic flavored mashed potatoes and broccoli with melted cheese. She loved his cooking when they first met. It was one of the few things she really appreciated. He remembered when she would get home from work and he had everything ready for her. At this point, it had been 6 weeks since she allowed him to touch her, let alone spend time with her. When he saw her car pull up, he was as excited as a boy waking up to Christmas. The candles were lit and the glasses of wine shined in the dimly lit room. Images of him dancing with his woman, whom he loved with all his heart, playing in his head. Finally getting his woman back. When the door opened, Amber walked in with her business attire on, not even bothering to announce herself. She just made her way to the stairs, not even noticing the dimly lit dining room and music playing. Jace just stood there not knowing what he was feeling, shocked, angry, or what, but something in him broke. Something in him made him turn cold and bitter, and in that bitterness came bluntness. "Well, it's nice to see you too, my loving wife." Amber stopped in her tracks, taken aback by the coldness of his words. She came to the dining room, determined to fight in her eyes, only to see the sight that awaited her. Suddenly something shows in her eyes. "Oh, Jace, baby, this looks amazingly beautiful." Suddenly calmness returns to Jace, a feeling of warmth and love. "I thought that you might like this, figure we could have a night to ourselves." As Jace held her in his arms, he noticed her smile soon fade. "Baby, this looks amazing, but I have a business meeting in the next hour. Do you think you could put this away for now? We could warm it up later." Jace suddenly goes cold again, releasing her from his arms and not saying a word. Without a word, he begins to clean up the meal that took time to prepare just right. It was almost as if looking at a robot. Amber notices this and begins speaking. "Look, baby, I'm sorry. I know you put time and effort into this, but it's no big deal. We can warm it up and still have the night to ourselves." The sudden clang of dishes breaking in the sink startles her as Jace's frustration builds, his steps harder with each movement. A feeling of frustration builds in Amber. "Look, it is no big deal, all right? I have plans that require attention too, okay? It is a business meeting just like any other. I have a chance of a promotion. If this falls into place, this can be good for us, don't you understand? Now just because you have one date planned and life just happens, you have a fit. It's for one night, for Christ's sake. We can have your romantic night tomorrow, okay?" If you just dash, the slamming of the refrigerator echoes through the kitchen, a look of quiet fury in Jace's eyes. Amber could swear she saw a single tear held back as she looked at him. He then spoke. 6 weeks, Amber." Amber could not understand. "You have not let me touch you for nearly 2 whole months. Not even a single hug. Even when we sleep, you can't stand the idea of me touching you. The other night, when you finally let your guard down and let me hold you, I had to get up to go to the bathroom. When I got up, you rubbed your arms as if piss and dog were all over your arms. Nearly 2 months, Amber. Nearly 2 months." Amber looked rattled for a moment, but then did what she always did. Blamed him. "You know I get hot in bed, damn it. Sorry if I don't want to wake up in sweat and heat. Jace, I have just been busy, okay? I know we haven't had that much time." Nearly 2 whole months, Amber. I heard you the first time, damn it, and I said I'll make up for it. Matter of fact, what do you think I am? Your personal 304 that you can hook up with on the drop of a dime? No, because a 304 would at least let me even be close to her to begin with and not use intimacy as a damn ration. No, you are my wife, who I love and who I thought loved me, who I cannot even touch without her being repulsed, let alone show affection to. You look at me like I'm some kind of deviant instead of the man who wants to make love to his wife." Fury builds in Amber's eyes. "Well, maybe if you understood what I went through, you would understand why I can't be there at a drop of a hat. I have a job and responsibilities. I earned the fruits of my rewards and busted mine, but to get where I am. No thanks to you." Jace was dumbstruck. "No thanks to me? No thanks to you. I spent countless funds from my pension to help you through college and your studies. Every time you needed a ride to school, despite me working double shifts at the metal shop or job site with hardly any sleep, I helped you when you needed help on a subject that I didn't know a damn thing about. I stayed up with you to help you pass that damn test when your so-called friend mocked and made fun of you while using up your supplies and sabotaging your project, just so I could bail you out at the last minute. And you stand here with guts to tell me, no thanks to you? Are you even hearing yourself dash?" Jace paused right there when he saw it. The mark on her neck that he did not give her. Every emotion builds up within him, threatening to come out. He wanted to scream and demand who it was she was seeing, who took her away from him. He, for the first time in his life, wanted to cause her harm. But something in him stopped those thoughts, for now. His experience in the army spoke to him that he must be patient and know everything about his enemy being the one who had destroyed his marriage. It took every fiber of his being to calm himself and not show that he knew. He stopped speaking and pulled out a bottle of Jim Beam, poured himself a glass, then sat down at the table, taking a drink without saying a word. Amber, thinking the argument over, took a breath. I'll make it up to you, okay? I promise. She kissed his cheek, but he stayed silent. He knew she was no longer his. She went upstairs to get ready and returned in a stunning, revealing dress. The deep red color enveloped her, highlighting her figure in a tasteful manner. She gathered her belongings and reached the door before speaking to Jace. It may be a late night due to the meeting. I love you, Jace. Jace did not even look up from his empty glass as he heard the door shut. The closing door signified the end of his marriage. Now he just had to witness its final collapse. He chose to use his reconnaissance skills productively. He visited websites that sold detective equipment, including advanced cameras, hidden cameras, and recording devices, as well as GPS trackers and applications. He intended to discover who was accompanying his wife. Amber came back early in the morning, her dress ruffled and her makeup slightly smudged. Jace sat on the couch, watching television in silence without engaging in conversation. Amber thought he was still upset, but did not want another argument. Little did she know that Jace was done fighting for a marriage that was not worth fighting for. As time went on, Jace started paying attention to Amber's schedule. He would make plans just to show face. He knew they would be canceled. His purpose was to follow her and eventually him. When he ordered his equipment, he ensured it was sent to his post office box so it would not be discovered. He placed cameras around his home, all unseen, particularly in his living room and bedroom. He then downloaded tracking apps on her phone due to his name being on the plan. He adjusted his work schedule to allow for days off during which he sought evidence regarding the affair. He even had an app that tracked her texts. For the first 10 days, nothing. One day, he observed a message on her phone that read, "Hey babe, meet me at our favorite spot, where I showed that trick with my tongue." He then saw her response, "You are so bad. I can make that happen. I just got to ditch my husband." The responding text then read, "Oh, goddamn it. That loser should get a life already. Maybe you should give him a pity L. Really, hell no? That loser is hereby banned from touching you. Only I can do that, haha. You are horrible. I'm going to make you pay for it. Please, go ahead. I'll see you tonight, baby." "See you there, big man." Jace just looked at his phone. Eventually, a single tear fell down his cheek as the reality finally set in. She's cheating on me. He spoke to himself, seemingly trying to express something, but unable to do so. He went to his home knowing that she was there. He entered and saw her on her phone. She quickly put it away. "Oh, hey, baby." He put on his best poker face when he spoke. "I have a meeting at the shop tonight, so I'll be home late." She then got up to hug him. "Okay, baby. Look, about the incident weeks ago, I know it bothers you. Perhaps we could visit my aunt's residence next week. She still has that Great Lake house and would love to see us." Jace smiled as best as he could. "Yeah, that would be nice. I will see you later. Okay, baby. I love you." Jace closed the door before he could say it back. He drove his 2014 Ford F-150 around the corner, set up his mobile tracking app, and waited for Amber to leave and lead him to the man who destroyed his marriage. Eventually, she did just that. He saw the tracking device he had placed on her car signal the app. She was on the move, and he took off after the car once it was out of sight. It was dark out, so she would not expect a thing. Eventually, the icon stopped, and he made his way to the area. As he drove, he noticed how secluded the area was. The closest neighbor was a football field away. Eventually, he saw his wife's 2016 Lexus in front of an upscale home. As the memories played in his head like a tragic film, he brought himself back to the present. He turned off his lights to stay hidden, then activated the second tracker and receiver, the one he attached to his wife's purse. Her surprise gift turned out to be his live video feed. The buttons contained a small camera along with a recording and an audio receiver. When he turned on the device, his heart sank upon seeing his wife kissing and undressing Travis Hale, a man he immediately recognized as someone connected to different criminal elements. He was a go-between for the business world and the criminal underworld, providing services such as money laundering and illegal loans. He could also bribe public officials to keep himself out of jail or use his underworld contacts to make people disappear. The live feed continues as Jace observes his marriage ending. Pure rage builds up inside him as he sees Travis treat his wife like he is in some explicit movie, but Jace has to remain calm. When he presents this in court, along with the prenuptial agreement, Amber will not receive any assets. He needs to keep recording because the recording and audio only function within a certain range. When it is over, he wants to throw up. He is leaving when he overhears the lovers' conversation. God, he is pathetic. He had a tantrum because I didn't eat his damn dinner with him. Fried catfish and broccoli? I mean, come on. With you, I can at least have caviar and lobster like it's nothing. That and the whole spoiling me in every way, Amber says. Amber gives a giggle. Well, yeah, there is that. Travis spoke. Forget that loser, babe. In the meantime, keep that attention for me. He is not allowed to have it. You sure this is going to work, baby? He was in the army, after all. Baby, I keep telling you, this will work. You just have to trust me. In a little while you can divorce the loser and take him for everything he has. Besides that, we fooled him before. Did you ever tell him he was kissing me the last time you were with him? Please. That was probably the only time his mouth was useful. Something snaps in Jace when he hears that. At first, he was going to go home and prepare for his divorce and move on with his life. But after hearing everything from his loving wife, joking with Travis about how Jace had been with her after Travis had been with her the same day, all the rage he was holding back, all the anger he kept under control, finally breaks free. Before he knows it, he presses his foot on the gas and drives toward the house, full speed ahead. Amber's partially dressed body lies on Travis's lap. She has just finished fooling around with him, a carefree smile on his face. Suddenly, the wall behind them explodes as a truck crashes into the couch, pushing the lovers across the room. Travis rises from the rubble, injured and disoriented. Suddenly, he feels a hard fist across his face, knocking him back down. Jace then picks Travis up to his feet just to throw him across the coffee table. He then proceeds to beat him throughout the area. Every humiliation, every insult he endured because of this piece of garbage, he wants him to feel it. Eventually, Travis's face looks like a horror movie. What was once his most prized possession, his moneymaker as he called it, is now a collage of black eyes, busted lips, broken nose and jaw, and cuts for days. But it does not matter. Jace just keeps punching him over and over. He keeps hitting him again and again until he hears something. He cannot make it out at first, but it sounds like, "Taser, taser." He then feels the volts jolt his body still. As he regains control, he feels the handcuffs across his wrists as the local police help him up and place him under arrest. Amber is hysterical as she tells the police her crazy husband tried to take them both out. Jace sits in his holding cell, trying to understand how it all came to this. He is not sorry about beating the life out of Travis. If anything, he wants more time with him. He just wants to know why he was not good enough and why his wife would want him gone, not divorced, gone. She did not have to convince him to fall in love with her. She did not have to stay if she was unhappy. She could have gone any other route if she wanted to use her body and looks. Jace has his pension, but be it out of bitterness or spite, he does not want to touch it. He does not want any chance, however slim, of Amber and Travis getting a cent of his money. Not that it would happen, but he is so angry he convinces himself it could. He is then sent to County Detention Center to wait for his trial. After months of waiting, his trial is coming up. He mostly keeps to himself. As far as the inmates go, most are there for narcotics charges or missed child support payments. There are a few heavy hitters. The CO comes to his cell. "Cole, you're up for trial." Jace is taken to a room to change clothes and then transported to court. When he arrives, he sees the room packed. Among the guests are his wife Amber and Travis. If looks could kill, they would have made him a corpse on the spot. The prosecutor makes his case, saying that Jace's actions were those of a madman with no regard for human life. People of the court, to say this man is a danger to society is an understatement. Not only did he drive his vehicle through the wall of a home, but he beat the owner of the home to an inch of his life. Jace looks at Travis in the courtroom. Travis's face is not necessarily disfigured, but it will never be the same again. His nose is altered even after healing, and his eye is partially closed due to a nerve being severed in the assault. There are also noticeable scars, though they are not very big. Travis is, in all accounts, still a handsome man, but he is humiliated from the assault, in his own home, no less, and seeing the damage on his face is evidence of that. Travis is usually the one who leaves his mark on people, but now whenever he looks in a mirror, he sees Jace. When Travis glares at Jace, Jace just glances back indifferently, as if Travis is insignificant. Amber is then called to the stand. He's crazy. That son of a. That man tried to kill me and my friend. He has been acting aggressive to me for months, and I just can't stand it anymore. I had to get away before he hurt me, and that night he would have taken out me and Travis if not for the police arriving. Oh my God, I don't want to imagine what he would have done to us. I wouldn't be here talking to you. You must put that psycho in an institution or something. The man is a war hero, but he needs help before he hurts somebody. Jace just sits at his bench. He has no plan of being let go. With what he did, he knows he is going to face some time. He just wants to make sure it is going to be for at least a quarter or more of his life inside, not longer. When the trial is over, Jace is sentenced to 5 years for aggravated assault and forced to pay damages to the property, which, to the annoyance of Travis, is taken care of by the local church and a veteran support group. When the judge speaks, Travis loses it. Are you kidding me? That son of a. That guy beats me half to death, and it's only a few years, and some saps get to pay off his debt just like that? That scumsucker deserves to live under the jail for what he did to me, or at least under a bridge when he gets out. The judge bangs his gavel in anger, giving Travis a stern look. Mr. Hale, that behavior will not be tolerated in my courtroom. Now, unless you want to have charges of your own, I suggest that you sit down and be quiet. Travis is enraged, but he is smart enough not to show it, and he slowly sits back down. I understand there is another proceeding involving the divorce of Mr. and Mrs. Cole that will happen in another courtroom. However, this case is officially closed. Jace will be sent to the state psychiatric center due to the emotional break that caused this to happen and the testimony of his wife. Jace just looks at her, not with malice or ill will, but with disappointment that his time was wasted on someone so horrible and cold. With 5 years above him, Jace is escorted by the bailiff into another room. He feels awkward in his attire, county-issued pocketless pants and a button-up shirt, but he is not too worried. He has resigned himself to his fate. To the dismay of his wife, he has made some contingencies. Before making his way to the lovers, he made sure he emptied his bank that day, leaving only what his wife had put into the account. He also made sure that his pension and 401k were safe and protected, giving all the evidence to his lawyer, including the footage and audio of his wife cheating. Amber comes into the courtroom with complete condescending confidence. Her arrogance is clear. Her lawyer looks like his suit costs more than the courtroom, with his slick haircut. He speaks. Your Honor, my client wishes to divorce due to trauma and abuse. She was staying with a friend due to Mr. Cole's erratic behavior. We believe divorce and division of assets would be best at this time. The judge then looks at Jace and his lawyer's table, allowing his lawyer to speak. An older man with a black and pepper beard whose suit looks like he got it from Walmart, but it does not take away from his years of experience in the court. Your Honor, if I may remind the court that this is an at-fault state, and that this marriage has a prenup that, if anyone was cheating, the cheating party would leave with only what they brought into the marriage. No alimony, pension, or any retirement funds. Amber's lawyer then speaks. Your Honor, my client was at Mr. Hale's home only as a friend offering comfort during this difficult time. There is no evidence to suggest otherwise. With that, Jace's lawyer pulls a file and a disc from his casebook. Your Honor, I have here evidence that in fact shows cheating. He gives it to the bailiff, who plays the disc while passing pictures to the court. The clear image of Amber with Travis is on full display. Every angle, every graphic act that had been recorded now playing on screen. The color from Amber's face drains, while the color of her lawyer's face turns red from both anger and embarrassment. No, oh my God, how did you get that? The judge bangs his gavel. Order. Based on the evidence presented in court, I hereby conclude this marriage officially dissolved. Mr. Cole will not pay Mrs. Cole any alimony or funds of any kind due to proof of her infidelity, due to the rules of the prenup. When Mr. Cole's sentence is finished, his home, since it is in his name and paid in full, and property tax is paid by his support group, he keeps the residence, and it will be his upon his release. This court is adjourned. And with the bang of the gavel, Jace is escorted while Amber curses him as he is taken away. Amber regards him with both shock and disdain. Jace just gives a smile to her, causing her to curse at him in the process. She tries to rush him, but the bailiff stops her and puts her in handcuffs. Jace knows she will not stay locked up for long. He is going away, but after everything that has happened, he enjoys the sight of his unfaithful wife being placed in cuffs, knowing that hers and Travis's plan of getting his money blew up in smoke. He savors all of it with a smile as he is led away to what his new home will be for the next 5 years. 5 years later, Jace looks into the sky as he sits in his cell, only days away from being free. His time in the mental institution was not easy. It forced him to deal with demons he did not want to face, from the friends he lost in the war to finding out his wife was cheating on him in such a disrespectful manner. It was no wonder his mind cracked. He is hesitant at first. He would hear the stories of others in support groups. He would also see them mentally broken and gone, as they would range from having arguments with people who were not there or eating checkers because they thought they were edible, to people who tried to hurt themselves while trying to hurt other people. Despite the culture shock of the mentally damaged, he finds the strength within himself to face his own demons. Jace, are you ready? Jace turns to see the kind face of Sister Janet O'Brien, a beautiful but fiery redhead in her late 40s with only a minimum line of gray in her hair. She is married to one of the facility drivers. Despite her being a nun, she had once been caught up in the adult trade when she was younger. The facility driver, Patrick O'Brien, was the cop who saved her from her cruel and sadistic pimp when she was 20, despite him being 22 and fresh out of the police academy. As she was being treated, she would find her calling when she built a relationship with God and wanted to help others who were like her, mentally broken. Despite her no-nonsense attitude, she is seen as an angel in these walls, where so many like herself went through hell in one way or another. She is one of the major factors that helps Jace come back to reality with a peace and contentment he has never felt since he came home from the war. It is not perfect, but a miracle nonetheless. In time, she would work in the same place that helped her, and both Janet and Patrick found love in each other while she was being treated and cared for. He was there to root for her and support her every day as she took this journey to heal. They have been married for almost 30 years. Come on already, kid. Patrick and I don't have all day, you know. Most people want to get out of this dump. But come on, Janet, how else am I going to get your chocolate chip cookies? You don't exactly sell them at the stand, just when the ladies have a birthday. Not to mention what's making me keep coming back for more of this dump. Huh. Simple. I'm a glutton for punishment. Both laugh as they make their way to the facility's main door. Janet lights a cigarette, handing it to Jace, then lights one for herself. With her eyes filled with pride, she turns to Jace. Jace, I just want you to know that I'm so proud of you. You came a long way from when you first came through these doors. You fought staff and inmate on occasion, but you never stopped fighting, not just for your mind but your soul. You are no longer the angry, broken soul that came here. You are made of scars, yes, but scars are wounds that have healed, and Jace, you healed them because you faced them. God bless you, sweetie. Jace cannot hide the tear that leaves his eye as he hears her words. He never had a mother growing up, just a teen mom who never loved him and just let family take care of him, if they had time. The army was the only family he had, but now he sees Janet as the mother he wishes to God he had, and is thankful she is here in his life now. You are a big reason I'm walking out these gates with hope at all, Janet. Thank you. Thank you for all of it. Both give a hug, but are soon interrupted when the shuttle van comes to the front to pick them both up. A grizzled man with a lean build and a cigar in hand speaks up. Hey, get away from my wife, you degenerate. Not even outside, and you still can't control yourself around the opposite sex. An annoyed yet affectionate look crosses Janet's face as she turns to the rude driver. Hello, my love. I see your entrances are as dramatic as ever. Only the best for my lady and my sort of adoptive son, Patrick says with a laugh. Like Janet, Patrick is an essential part of Jace's healing as well. Whenever Jace wants to give up, Patrick says words of encouragement. He and Janet would even attend some of Jace's sessions when he talks about his service in the army. Despite every graphic detail he shares, Patrick never judges him for it. He even encourages Jace to take up boxing and trains him, due to Patrick being a boxer himself when he was in the academy, giving Jace an outlet to let out his anger from what happened and any other scars he has. These are not just an odd couple to him. They are the closest thing to parents he has ever had in his life, and he treasures them both. Patrick, you can act tough all you want, but you have a lot to do with me coming out too. Thank you for that, man. Patrick feels a tear build up as Jace gives him a hug as he and Janet get in the shuttle van. All right, enough with the mushy stuff. Let's get this show on the road. As the driver goes onward, they talk about what his plans will be and what will be next for Jace now that he is out. Janet, despite being the strong-willed nun that she is, cannot, nor will she, hide the love and affection she has for Patrick. He saved her life in more ways than one. After all, she constantly holds his hand no matter how long she talks. They talk about sports and movies he wants to see and keeping in touch. So, just wanted to let you know that the house has been maintained and cared for. But you may want to get a hold of the electric company, otherwise you may be waking up to your balls being ice cubes. Janet hits Patrick on the shoulder. Language, Patrick. Patrick smiles in return. I never complain when you let out a curse word or two. Janet blushes at the thought, knowing full well she curses when he makes her, and she performs a Hail Mary while Patrick and Jace laugh. Janet cannot help but smile at the sight of it. Janet could never have children due to the trauma she endured in the hands of her pimpin' clients. But she sees the men in this bus as her family, Patrick her husband and Jace her son. Patrick is saying something when Jace notices a black van pull up alongside them. By the time he sees the passenger door slide open, it is too late. Patrick's head is disintegrated by the M60 machine gun fire. The bullets spray throughout the shuttle bus. Jace tackles Janet to the ground to avoid the bullets. The gunman then shoots out the tires. Then the driver of the van uses its custom grill frame to ram and steer the shuttle bus down the ravine. The bus tumbles and twists its way down until it flips for the last time at the bottom. Then, as fast as it happens, it is over. When Jace comes to, he is just outside the shuttle, lying next to it. He sees the mangled corpse of Patrick. Sadness fills his heart at the sight of his father figure in such a way. But then he turns to see the horrific sight of Janet. Her body had somehow made it outside the bus as well. However, she was impaled by a large shard of glass. Her eyes look toward nothing as the life is no longer in them. Jace wants to scream in rage, but is too weak to do so. Before he loses consciousness, as he falls back to the ground, he overhears the sounds of sirens coming near. And then, darkness. Jace slowly wakes up in a room he has never seen before. He tries to move, but the pain strikes him. God damn it. That hurts. He then notices the bandages on his ribs and casts on his arms and legs that are now hoisted up. His head is also bandaged too. He then notices the room again. I know I'm being treated, but this doesn't look like a hospital. Where the hell am I? Suddenly the memory of what he last saw plays out. Images of his friends being brutally murdered in front of him. Images of Patrick's head exploding as blood and brain matter scatter everywhere, leaving nothing but the tip of spinal cord and neck where his head once was. He sees images of Janet, the shard of glass in her chest, the pipe in her torso, the look of shock, pain, and fear in her eyes. Then all the emotion returns to Jace like a storm. He shakes in rage and sadness as the reality that the only friends and family he has left are gone. No. Patrick. Janet. Oh God. No. He causes such a scene that he risks injuring himself further, to which point a team comes into the room to restrain him. Despite his injuries, he fights them. Janet. Patrick. Suddenly someone puts a needle in his fore. The effects begin to take hold immediately. Janet. Patrick. And slumber takes hold of him again. He wakes up again to find himself in the same room. This time, however, the casts on his legs and arms are gone. Well, someone is finally awake. Took you long enough. Jace turns his head to see a man sitting on a couch across the room. He looks like he is in his early 40s, a lean athletic build. Even though the man is in civilian attire, Jace can tell he is anything but a regular civilian. Before Jace can say anything, the man speaks first. Before you ask, no, this is not a hospital. This is a safe house in the middle of Briar County. We were fortunate that we found out before they did. A cold chill goes up Jace's spine when he hears that. They are pros and are very good at what they do. They work under this man. I believe you two are acquainted. Jace sees the photo, and cold rage builds inside him as he sees the face that cost him everything. Travis. The man nods. Mr. Hale is more than a homewrecker, Mr. Cole. Yes, I know who you are, Sergeant. He is a very connected man in many very bad ways. He is a go-between for criminal organizations and the rest of the world. Mafias, cartels, street gangs, 1% biker clubs, corrupt officials, and even terror groups. This is a very bad man. So, when you kicked the crap out of him and embarrassed him in his own home, he did not take it well. We have been tracking him and his activities for years, but then you showed up at his place, and, well, things got interesting. You then became another person to keep an eye on. We knew you were safe in the institution. It was one of the few places he had no grip on. Jace just lays there, taking everything in. He then takes a breath. Keeping an eye on me, huh? Well, I gotta say, you need some work. Me being banged up and all that and losing my friends. The words hit the man, but he never shows it. Where were you if you were looking out for me? The man stands up and then brings a wheelchair to the bed. Let's go for a walk. Jace is hesitant at first. The man still has not answered his question. However, he knows he needs answers, and this man is the only one who can give him those answers. With effort, he gets to the side of the bed and into the chair. He is slightly surprised he is able to move as he does for being in a coma for over 6 months. It did take you a bit. We had someone stretch out your legs and arms as you were healing for circulation. Jace is surprised that the man says that. It is like he can read his mind. No, I can't read your mind, Jace. Jace's head jerks up in surprise. I just pay attention. When they get out of the room and eventually outside, Jace is amazed how beautiful it is. He sees that he is in a large house, but the surrounding area is completely clear from any public view. It is as if the home is hidden in a valley somewhere. The man then speaks. My name and rank is Major Mark Hanley of the United States Marine Corps. Nice to meet you, Grunt. Now, to answer your question, Mark continues to push Jace along the paved road going further into the woods. Jace sees a secluded building in the clearing. We underestimated Travis's ego. When you kicked his butt in his home, to say his pride was wounded was an understatement. He could not touch you at the institution, not even he had that pull, so he sent in one of his people to apply for a job. He could never get you alone no matter how much he tried, but he kept tabs, eventually learning the routes and drivers at the facility. When the word came that you were being released, that's when he made his move and had his people try to take you out. When they saw the bus go over, they figured that was enough. Of course, they didn't count on you being too stubborn to die. He learned that there was a survivor, and he wanted to remedy that. We could not let that happen. Calls were made, and we got the go-ahead to get you out of there before his goons showed up. He was pissed, of course, but I doubt you care how he feels. They are in front of the building now. It looks like a rectangle in the woods, no windows or notable means of entry, until Mark places his hand on a hidden panel, allowing 2 massive doors to open. As they enter the building, Jace then asks a question. How do you know all of this? Mark does not say a word as they come to the elevator door at the end of the hall and descend into the basement with the elevator. When the doors open, Jace is hit with a dank smell, then sees a man hanging upside down with his legs chained to a crane. He has been beaten severely. Mark then speaks. Because this individual, from the kindness of his heart, felt obligated to share such information, as well as more. Isn't that right, Darren? The man identified as Darren looks in fear. Please, man, I told you everything I know, okay? I told you dash, a punch lands across his face, knocking out another tooth as blood spits from his mouth. A man steps forward, his gloved fist still stained with blood, a leather apron draped over him. He places a picture in front of Darren, who panics. I had nothing to do with that. I held the video camera as she was cornered and attacked by your buddies. You even encouraged it the whole time. When it was said and done you had dash, a sharp blow shuts him up. But the part that made you mad is that despite all that, you could not break her. No matter what you did or called her. When you tried to kiss her, she bit your nose, then headbutted you, then called you a spineless coward. Despite her torn uniform lying next to her, violated in every way, you and your friends could not break her. She still had enough spirit in her to hurt that sad ego of yours. So what do? You used a straight razor to slice her throat, dumping her body in the field at Rock Hollow. Darren is shocked at the detail. Wait, how did you know that? He is suddenly hoisted up by a crane, only to have his genitals gripped by power cables. He screams with pain, and agony echoes in the room. He is then placed slightly above an oil drum filled with water. The man then approaches Darren, a duffel bag in his hand. Unzipping it, he looks at him and says, Because they told me themselves, Darren. I felt it was best that we had a reunion. Darren looks in horror as the heads of his conspirators are brought out one by one. His screams of horror and panic echo in the room. He is struck by the man before he can speak. Not going to lie. Darren, you should have picked smarter friends than this. You know this guy? Darren watches as the man places his gloved hand on one of the lifeless heads. This guy carried around her badge like a trophy. He was proud that no one could figure out how she was killed in such a way. He told everyone he could until that story reached my ears. Well, from there, things took a turn. I took my time with him. He was a fighter, I'll give him that. His knuckles are a dead giveaway. But you'd be surprised how much a tough guy like him can scream when he's the one being beaten with a billy club wrapped in razors if you know what you're doing. I think he even carried a tune. He even told me how you laughed. The man suddenly tosses the severed head at Darren, who can do nothing but scream in terror as it smacks against his face before splashing into the water around him. Laugh with me now, funny man. Before he can say anything, he is forced further inside the drum as Darren drowns inside. A switch is turned on. The sound of electricity fills the room. Darren's body shakes yet stays in place as the current runs throughout it, the water-filled drum shaking as sparks fly from its edges. After about 7 minutes, the switch is shut off. The drum is drained and the heads are put in the drum with the body. Gas is poured on them and a match turns it into a makeshift crematory where the remains are charred and burned. After the bones are crushed further, it is as if what was once a crying, wavering coward and his friends are nothing more than dust to be swept under a rug. Nothing but ash remains. The man then speaks. Not exactly battery acid, but it will do. He then takes the picture and kisses it before returning it into his pocket. He then notices Mark and Jace sitting in the chair in front of him, staring in shock at what they have just witnessed. The man then speaks up. I see he's up. Mark smiles. Jace, allow me to introduce Gunnery Sergeant Adam Najjar, fellow Jarhead. He served with me in Afghanistan when the war first began. I trust this man with my life. Jace just looks at the drum. You took that man out. Adam does not miss a beat. Wow. Nothing gets past you, Grunt. What's next? Are you going to give me a moral speech with shield in hand and call yourself Captain America? Jace then turns to face Adam. I got ears. I heard what he'd done. If you ask me, the electricity would have sufficed. Just not every day you see a guy go like that. Doesn't mean I feel sorry for the piece of trash. Jace then spits on the drum that held the ashes of the group. Adam then looks at Mark. I think the team will like him. Jace is then taken further into the facility. He comes into a bunker that looks like a house from the 60s. This place was made during the Cold War, so you're going to get a bit of a retro vibe. Making their way inside, Jace sees a man storm out of a room, enraged. Adam, there you are, you jackass. Who the hell told you to take my toys out before I could test them? You jerk. I'm not here to pick up flaming blips that used to be bodies. You dumb son of a... Why did Dash? The man stops his rant and looks at Jace. Oh, you're up. Hey, why is he here? Mark speaks. This is Corporal Tony Russo. No relation to the guy here, just to be clear. The group gives Tony a look at once as he makes the unnecessary statement. Demolitions expert. If it remotely goes boom, I know about it. Too bad shutting up when you don't need to talk is something you struggle with, Adam says. Tony glares at Adam as he makes the comment. Tony has been in service from the Afghanistan war as well. I met him in one of my missions, Mark admits. Of course, it probably didn't help my career when I decided to dispose of a bomb without authorization. Turns out the brass upstairs was willing to let it go off due to a Mr. Big Bad that was in bed with our enemies. Enemy factions got wind of his location and were willing to go after him. Casualties be damned. I did not like the whole letting innocent lives die to get one sack of garbage, so I disposed of the bomb, and then Mr. Big Bad even gave the bomb back to its makers with explosive results. Despite me saving the day, the last thing you want to do is embarrass the brass upstairs. They killed my career faster than a drunk could take a piss. I was discharged with honors, but discharged nonetheless. Mark then speaks again. I believe you've met Adam. He was a sniper during the Afghanistan war. Yeah, they called Deadeye over here the Glimmer Man. 600 confirmed hits. He got the name because you would see a glimmer and then you were gone. The group looks at Tony again in awkward silence. My bad, my bad. Tony says, humbling himself. Adam then takes over the story. The man you saw, Darren, there was a reason he went out the way he did. I had a family once. I met my eventual wife in high school. We were just a couple of dumb kids who were in love. Damn thing sounds like the start of a sad country song. Anyway, we fell for each other. Of course, when kids fall for each other, they tend to do dumb stuff, like having a baby when they are only 16. It was hard, of course, but somehow we made it work. But then the birth happened. Our little girl, Haley, was born. I was so happy and scared at the same time. So was Dana, Haley's mom. I was holding Haley when I saw it. Dana had gone into shock. She was bleeding internally. The doctors tried to save her, but she didn't make it. Adam takes a moment before he speaks again. Her family consisted of criminals and addicts, so my parents took custody. It was hard, but the love and stability brought us closer. She was my hummingbird because whenever I held her while she slept, it felt like she was humming. I wanted something more for her, so I enlisted and joined the Marines. Despite deployments and God knows what else, I always made time for her. Our bond only grew over time. By the time she was out of high school, I retired, figured 22 years was enough. Haley wanted to become a police officer after she graduated from high school. Of course, I wasn't too crazy about her seeing the ugliness the world can show, but I realized I couldn't stop her when she put her mind to something. She once told me, "I want to stop the bad guys like you do, Dad." I was proud of her when she became a sniper for SWAT, one of their best shooters. She saved many lives with her skill. However, she took the life of a psychotic man who didn't like the fact that his ex-wife moved on and showed it by taking her and her family hostage. A single bullet from 60 yards saved an entire group of people by taking the life of a monster. But this monster was the little brother of Travis Hale, one of the most violent criminals on the planet. Jace is taken aback by that. He had no idea how connected all this was. Travis is dabbed in things such as narcotics, white-collar crimes, human trafficking, and murder. There was another pause, and Jace sees a tear leave Adam's eye. She had just come home from her shift. She still had her uniform on. She and her fiancé were watching TV when it happened. A group of armed men came in. He tried to stop it, but was gut shot bad. He was shot, and then brutally beaten. They used bats, pipes, chains, even a crowbar. They held her down and made her watch. When it was over, one of them took hold of his head, lifting it from the floor, bruised and battered, and he told my baby that he loved her. Then they ended him in front of her, execution style. Then, with his blood still on her face, they then turned on her and assaulted her in her own home. Fury builds in Adam's eyes. But my baby was a fighter. Tough as they come. I made sure of that. Even after everything they had done to her, they could not break her. So that piece of garbage sliced her throat. We found her in a field, her body left next to her fiancé. A somber mood fills the room. No one speaks. Then Jace breaks the silence. The fiancé, what was his name? Silence is met again, but then Tony speaks. His name was Chris. He was my little brother. The shock is written on Jace's face once more. The connections of this tragedy are staggering. He was turning his life around. My brother was always having a hard head, getting into trouble and fights, and I had to be the one that bailed him out. It wasn't until he went to prison after a lifestyle of narcotics and gangs that he found himself again. He ended up working with at-risk youth, so they didn't end up like he did. No more selling narcotics or robbing people. Now he was encouraging people to truly grow. He even got his master's while he was inside to become a teacher. He met Haley at one of the community functions. They hit it off instantly. I never saw him so happy. I even went with him to help him buy the ring he would propose to her with. The dumb kid threw up before he proposed and begged me for a mint. There is another pause before he continues. I found out about him when I came home from my last tour. We were going to go out, and I was going to bug him about the wedding when I saw them. The detectives were waiting for me at the terminal. They told me how they found them, and I broke down right there. You ever see a soldier cry so hard that the world stops? Well, that was me that day. I had him buried next to her. I met Adam at the funeral. We met Mark over here and found the missing link. It was all connected to Travis Hale. Haley was closing in on Travis's unsavory friends in the underworld. Add that to the fact that she took out his little brother and she was marked. Chris was good at what he did as a criminal, but that wasn't him anymore. Travis asked him to help him with a big job, but my little brother made the right mistake. He said no to Travis. He was already marked for death. The fact that he lived with Haley at the time was only a bonus. We realized that Travis was very well connected. He had politicians and public officials in his pocket and on speed dial, along with other criminal groups. There was no way we were going to take him down with the law. It was going to be up to us. Jace just listens as he continues. We found the first one laughing up a storm at a known dive bar for lowlives and criminals. We could not just ask questions at first. We needed him there until eventually he showed up. The genius really could not help himself. Me and Adam made sure he was filled with booze enough for him to call a cab driven by me. Mark admits. When he came to, we didn't say anything. We just beat him badly, even cut his left leg to pieces while cauterizing it out. We then wanted him to tell us about the crew and why they were sent to go after Haley. He didn't answer at first, so he needed more convincing. You would be surprised what you can get out of an assaulter when you use a pipe with razors welded onto it, especially for those hard-to-reach places. Jace grimaced as the image played in his head. Adam spoke calmly. After that, the guy spilled his guts. He told us everything he knew about Travis and his dealings allies, enemies, contracts, legal and illegal associates, finances, and the stains working for him. Then, after he spilled his guts metaphorically, I spilled them for real. I'll have to consider the smell next time. It caught me off guard. We found each one of those monsters, Adam went on, and each one gave us more to work with. Each one we send on their way to hell, which, after what we did to them, will probably seem more like heaven. Everything they shared gave us more to track and exploit. It's a domino effect in graphic detail. We know safe house locations, drop spots, even his clientele. But we still need more. Guys like Travis don't just go quietly. They always have a loophole. Not to mention the people Travis is connected to. We can't reach them. Not without help. Jace didn't say a word at first. He was reading the room. You didn't bring me here just to meet these guys, he finally said. You want me to join you. Mark stepped in front of him, pulled out a recorder, and pressed play. Damn it. How many lives does that scum sucker have? Amber's voice snarled from the speaker. It's bad enough he cheated me out of the money that should be mine, but he can't even die right. That scum sucker. I know, baby. Travis's voice replied, smooth and amused. But we can't let this distract us. Remember what I told you, the new product is coming in tonight. I need you to make sure our numbers are good. I never understood why you call them product, Amber answered. As far as I'm concerned, they're just naive girls who got caught in the wrong place at the right time, toys for old men, and some ladies who are into that kind of thing. All customers who want a good product in the end, baby, hence the name. You know, Travis said, choosing you over my useless ex was the best thing I could have done. The fact that loser wanted to have kids and build a life with me, some kind of leave it to beaver nonsense. Me, I'm a man who likes a bit more speed than that lame. I'm a lady with a bit more speed than that lame ex, Amber purred. You're my woman, baby, and don't forget it. And I promise you, before next year is out, that ex will be a corpse. Maybe we should bring him in alive, Amber said, laughing, and make him watch us together before I ended things myself. Oh, you're such a bad girl. I'm your bad girl, baby. Your bad girl. The recording ended. Jace couldn't say a word. Such betrayal. Such disrespect. Such hatred. Who was this woman he had not only married but loved with every fiber of his being? He could not comprehend it. He had married someone who clearly wanted him dead and was now working for an infamous criminal involved in human trafficking, who also wanted him dead. All the thoughts and emotions, anger, sadness, betrayal, grief collided in his head, each one screaming as loud as the other. He did not understand why he was here now, why everything that happened to him had gone the way it did. He might never understand or get the answers to those questions. But he did know one thing. He would put all his time, energy, and effort into making them pay the ones who caused him this pain and this grief. Not just for Patrick and Sister Janet, but for himself. He turned to the group, his expression empty. When do we start? Tony grinned. Hey, Mikey, I think he likes it. Should we have team names? Dibs on Ghost. I know it's from a video game, but it's a cool video game character. Not as good as the old stuff, but still. Adam pinched the bridge of his nose. Tony, if you say one more word, on principle, I'm going to beat the crap out of you. Tony just smiled. Baby, don't flirt in front of the kid. It's not appreciated. Adam exhaled and headed for the door, Tony following with his usual stream of jokes. Jay stood there, stunned. Then he heard Mark's voice. He does that because of Trauma, the bad jokes. He's one of the best demolitionists I ever had the honor to work with. A good soldier, but more importantly, a good man. After what happened to his brother, though, he was a wreck. He used to say funny stuff whenever he was scared or hurt as a kid. After what happened, he started doing it again, it seems. Mark clapped Jace on the shoulder. Let's get you settled. Time to meet your extra hands. They took Jace to a room that looked like a training area. Weights, pull-up bars, exercise machines. But what caught his attention was the woman. Her light caramel ebony skin, loose short haircut, and glasses framed a face like an angel. Her natural blue eyes matched the soft intelligence behind them. Standing at about 54 to Jace's 58, with a lean yet curvy figure, she looked like something out of a swimsuit magazine. She was clearly biracial and absolutely beautiful. Jace, isn't it? She said. Hi, I'm Kayla. I'll be assisting you with your rehabilitation when I'm not hacking whatever's connected to the influence of a computer. I usually go by the name Mouse. Nice to meet you. Jace picked his jaw up off the floor. And nice to meet you. And thank you, he managed. She was probably in her mid-20s. Mark watched him. This will not be easy, he said. You will be healed. But that's not all. What do you mean? Jace asked. Mark pulled a pen from his shirt pocket and threw it faster than any dart or knife Jace had ever seen. The pen hit the wall with a sharp crack. Jace stared, shocked, at the fly now pinned to the wall by that same pen. Dad, come on, Kayla said. You can't scare the new guy away on his first day. Mark laughed, looking between Jace and his daughter. Something tells me he'll be just fine. And with that, the road to recovery began. Jace's physical training was hard and brutal. He hadn't moved his limbs in months, and it showed. But he was forced to endure, and eventually, he began to conquer the pain. Mouse was with him every step of the way. When he wanted to give up, she pushed him harder. When he wanted to rest and catch his breath, she walked with him and eventually ran with him. Screw that, she snapped once, when he slowed to a walk. If you can still complain, you can clearly breathe. Come on, 1 more mile to go. I know you can do it. Despite months of pain, over time the pain faded and turned into the muscle and stamina he needed. She made sure he ate properly, with a balanced diet. After months of not being able to walk without a cane, he was sprinting up and down the mountains and hidden valleys around the safe house like an Olympic athlete. His body was chiseled into fighting shape again. Eventually, Mark took over his training, and Jace was back to feeling brutal pain all over again. Jace didn't know much about Mark besides the fact that he had been a soldier. That was enough at first, but he quickly realized Mark was truly gifted in causing harm or worse. Jace learned that Mark knew more than 7 forms of combat and martial arts, including Krav Maga, kickboxing, judo, karate, and others. Mark was trained to see anything in his hand as a potential weapon, from knives, bow staffs, and firearms to the smallest needle or coin. He demonstrated how to make a baton bounce off a wall and ricochet into a target. And he made sure Jace learned it all. While Jace trained, the team continued reconnaissance. They learned as much as possible about Travis and his organization, his habits, his vices, even his favorite food. Amber was watched as well. Her gambling habits, her reckless shopping, the way she moved in the underworld. She used a naive persona to hide the ruthless criminal underneath. After 16 months of training, planning, and preparation, the team was finally ready to move against Travis and his empire. A group of masked men stormed into a bank and robbed it blind. No one saw them coming. Bank robberies happened all the time, but this bank was different. It belonged to the outfit. Once the money was taken, one of the gunmen raised an AK-47 toward the ceiling and fired. The shots echoed through the grand hall as the bank's power and computer systems went dead. Even the backup generators were cut. If any teller hit a silent alarm, no agency would receive it. The bank manager shouted at the last gunman as he left. You have any idea who you're stealing from, you dumb dash? You and your friends are dead. The gunman smacked him with the butt of the rifle. Shut the hell up, you lazy piece of trash. From the looks of it, 1 more cheeseburger will take you out anyway. Now let that stinging feeling in your face marinate and learn from this experience, okay? With that, the last gunman left and jumped into the van. They were gone before the power came back on. By the time the manager called to report the theft, the crew had vanished. Downtown, a man sat alone in a booth. Behind him, in another booth, sat 2 men among the most feared in the Russian mob on that side of the Atlantic. The man alone had his hand cuffed to a briefcase holding a thumb drive. That drive contained a treasure trove of information. The identities of undercover agents from various law enforcement agencies around the world, millions of bank accounts, stash houses for other criminal organizations, even the locations of weapons of mass destruction. He was there to meet an underworld contact and make a deal so big that he and his underlings might never have to work again. He checked his watch. The man sitting across from him had just arrived. He wasn't worried his muscle was there with him, seen or unseen. Before introductions could be made, the man suddenly dropped dead, a throwing knife embedded at the base of his neck. Before the Russian mobsters could respond, they were gunned down by an unknown man who emerged from the shadows and stepped toward the smaller man in the booth. "You stupid fool. Do you have any idea what you've done?" the stranger said. The little man, still trying to maintain his composure, suddenly took a heavy blow to the face from the .45 caliber pistol that had just killed his muscle. The man with the distorted voice spoke again. "Yes, I'm well aware of what I've done. I killed your hired muscle members of the St. Petersburg Russian mafia faction. I also killed your underworld associate, Vincent Costa of the Bellini family. And now I'm going to shoot you in the kneecap." "Wait, WH-, the bullet shattered his kneecap. He screamed in agony, staring at the ruined joint. The hot barrel of the pistol pressed against the side of his head, searing his skin. "If you try to act brave," the masked man said quietly, "I'm going to shoot your eye out like a bad Christmas movie. Give me the case. You have 6 seconds." In an instant, the briefcase was unlocked and shoved toward him. "Thanks," the unknown man said, before slamming the barrel into the man's eye, destroying it, and disappearing back into the night. Elsewhere, a woman sat in her penthouse high-rise overlooking the city. She gazed down at the people below, viewing them as ants or toys. She called them toys, mostly women, some young men. Objects to be used by the most deplorable human beings, exploiting the vulnerable for profit. Their ages were irrelevant to her. She was one of the most infamous traffickers in the country, a madam overseeing prostitution operations in more than 3 states. Her public mask was that of a self-made businesswoman who owned a chain of clubs, restaurants, and parlors. Her establishments were visited by senators, congressmen, priests, teachers. But her favorite thing was overseeing the assaults on kidnapped victims who had only been in the wrong place at the wrong time, having them held down as they begged and pleaded while they were drugged and abused again and again until they were obedient and broken. If they were too proud or their spirits too strong, their bodies would be dumped in fields or dumpsters. She felt it was a courtesy to their families to leave something to bury. She was going over the files of her clientele when an explosion ripped her door open. Shock and fear overwhelmed her as the smoke cleared and she saw her bodyguards lying dead. Then she saw him, a lone figure entering her study. Her arrogance flared. She stormed toward the masked man, hurling insults. "You damn peasant. Do you have any idea how much trouble you're in? Do you know who I am?" His fist crashed into her face. She staggered back, stunned that anyone, let alone a man, would hit her. He grabbed her by the hair and hurled her against the large window overlooking the city. When it didn't break, he did it again. "Stop. Please, stop," she screamed. The man stared at her for what felt like an eternity before speaking. "How many times did they beg?" he asked quietly. "How many times did they plead for the torture to end? They were innocent, both young and old. Some far too young, Monica Vale." Without another word, he grabbed her by the hair again and threw her through the same bulletproof window so hard that she and the entire plate shattered out of the frame. Her scream echoed through the night as she fell to her death, crashing onto the same limo that had driven her around like royalty. At a dock, a street gang arrived to pick up a new shipment of weapons. The usual inventory was their AR-15s, M16s, handguns of every kind, but the main prize was something else. A newly created rocket launcher listed as the E-209. A minigun was attached to its base, and the launcher fired a hub missile that split into 4 smaller ones. Aimed correctly, it could bring down an entire building. Certain police departments had been increasing efforts to combat gang activity. This weapon had never been heard of, and the Department of Defense didn't even know it existed. Logan Rain Baxter, leader of the gang, examined the weapons. He had earned his nickname for making it rain blood on the people he shot and murdered. Calling him ruthless was an understatement. Logan smiled and closed the case. "Pleasure doing business with you, bro," he told the arms dealer. I know a few cops will be real surprised when they see this, not to mention every crew stupid enough to try us. Pay the man. The moment one of his associates tossed the wad of cash to the dealer, a .50 caliber bullet disintegrated the man's head. Baxter's men were cut down by sniper fire, their eyes left staring lifelessly into nothing. Before Logan could react, the weapons he had just paid for exploded from a well-placed shot. A second explosion tore through the ship's engine room, not enough to sink it, but enough to leave it dead in the water. Then, out of nowhere, the Department of Defense, FBI, and U.S. Coast Guard converged on the docks. Logan Baxter was the only one left alive at the scene, surrounded by the bodies of his men and the arms dealer, all lying in pools of blood. He could do nothing but raise his hands as he was shoved into a federal SUV, knowing he would never see the outside world again. In Alberta, Canada, a bitter young hacker had managed to gain access to nuclear launch codes. His style was unlike anything anyone had ever seen. He did the impossible. He hacked France's nuclear codes. Officials knew what was happening, but they couldn't stop it in time. He saw that a warhead was being aimed at the United States and that the launch sequence had begun. Kevin DuPont lived a privileged life, but harbored a deep hatred for humanity. He wanted to save Earth by starting World War III. If the U.S. believed France had attacked, they would retaliate, and then others would join, and the world would burn. He had done inside work for a man named Travis in the States, but at this point, he was willing to die too. Kevin sent the launch command. Nothing happened. He tried again. Still nothing. Suddenly, the screen showed the launch command being overridden. A new image appeared. A clock being destroyed and a massive vault door sealing shut, with a message beneath it. Found you. Seconds later, police smashed his apartment door and tackled him to the floor. Kevin was too stunned to resist as he was cuffed and dragged away. There was nothing he could do. Elsewhere, a card game was underway, not just any card game, but the annual gathering of some of the most powerful criminals in the country. Each year, they met at a luxury hotel to discuss plans, business arrangements, and territories. At the end of each meeting, they played cards. In the underworld, these people were considered gods. Their power and influence rivaled that of many governments. Their crimes had destroyed countless lives and made entire neighborhoods tremble with fear. No one dared stop them. They never brought weapons. No one was stupid enough to rob them, no matter how many hundreds of millions of dollars were in play. Until tonight, the door burst open, the body of a guard crashing through it, riddled with stab wounds. 3 masked men entered, guns drawn. The criminals around the table barely reacted, more annoyed than afraid. "You guys have no idea how screwed you are," one of them sneered. "You might as well put that gun to your own head and pull the trigger, you dumb dash." He was cut off by a pistol whipping his face, breaking his nose. The lead masked man spoke. "All right, boys and girls, we're going to play a game. It's called The Next Person Who Says Something Stupid Gets Cracked in the Mouth. It's real easy. You shut the hell up and follow directions, okay?" He paced along the table. "Hands on your head. Interlace your fingers. I don't care if you've got an itch. If you even wiggle a finger, it's going to get removed, and I'll break your whole hand on principle. Good luck using the bathroom after that. Now hands up." On cue, the gangsters obeyed. They watched helplessly as the masked men took every last chip and bill on the table. Every cent. As they finished loading the last of the money, one of the thieves noticed a man wearing a ring. Not just any ring, a Juan Couture sapphire ring. The band was pure silver, with perfectly cut diamonds encircling the sapphire. The ring alone was worth at least $86,500. The masked man walked over. "I'll appreciate that donation on your finger, if you please." The tattooed man stared back coldly, saying nothing. The masked man pressed the barrel of his .45 caliber handgun up under the man's chin. The tattoos didn't intimidate him at all. "You mistake me for someone who likes repeating himself," he said quietly. Reluctantly, the man removed the ring and handed it over. "I'm going to have your family dash." He was cut off by another blow from the pistol, teeth shattering as blood poured from his mouth. Then a shot tore through the hand that had worn the ring, followed by another into his kneecap. "Now, class," the masked man said, as the others kept their guns on the table, "what have we learned today?" He pressed the muzzle against the wounded man's groin. The mobster, crying in pain, stammered, "Shut the hell up and follow directions." For the next 36 hours, Travis was hammered with phone calls. Clients and associates demanded an explanation for what had happened over the past week. Gangsters who'd been assured of top-tier security were being robbed. Bordellos that once boasted the best vices were being shut down as pimps and madams were killed despite paying protection. Cash drop-offs vanished. Donations to untouchable front organizations evaporated. Product was being seized and destroyed before it could be used. Travis had no answers. He desperately tried to figure out what was happening. Some callers threatened to cut off his shares or body parts. Others threatened to take their secrets to the competition or the authorities. Some begged him to fix it. There was nothing he could do. He knew he was being attacked. He just didn't know by whom. Elsewhere, Jace pulled into the driveway that, over a year ago, had been his home. Once, it was a place full of happy memories. A loving wife, a best friend, no betrayal, no malice. Just love. That love had died a long time ago. He'd been renovating the house for months so he could sell it for a decent price. The church had kept it maintained and paid the property taxes while he was locked up, using donations to keep the bank away. Now the house was completely his. He looked at it and thought, a family can use this place better than I ever could. A car tore down the street and nearly slammed into his. Without looking, he knew who it was. "You sorry sack of how could you do this?" Amber screeched as she leapt out. Jace smiled faintly. "Hello, Amber. Don't you hello me. You son of a. That was my house. You took that from me." "Kind of hard to back that claim when every document and payment says otherwise," Jace replied calmly. "But you go ahead and believe whatever helps you sleep." Rage built inside her. "You sorry sack of garbage. How could I ever have married you? You're nothing but some burned-out war nut who has bad dreams like a kid and wants sympathy from the world like some special victim. I had to put up with your nightmares, your depression, and the simple fact that you're not Travis. Travis has drive, power, ambition, not some low-class loser like you. He's someone who makes things happen." "Yeah," Jace said evenly. "And from the look of it, he also has low standards in taste and quality. But hey, my folks always told me it's best to share my toys." Amber's eyes flashed. She lunged to slap him, but a hand caught her wrist from behind. "I'm sorry, baby," a familiar voice said lightly. "Dad needed help with something, so I came a little late. Hope that's okay." Mouse Kayla Hanley, though only 54, had Amber pinned in a grip that made the other woman wince. "Baby, you little dash." Amber tried to yank free, only for Kayla to use her momentum against her, flipping her onto the pavement. Amber screamed in pain as Mouse leaned on her back. "That's not my name," Mouse said calmly. "Although I can be one, at times. Like now, for example." She pressed harder, making Amber scream louder. "I'm going to let go of your arm," Mouse told her. "And you're not going to do anything when I do, right?" Amber stayed silent. Mouse tightened her grip. "Right. Fine. Just let me go, please." Amber cried. Mouse released her. Amber scrambled up and got her first clear look at Kayla. She hated to admit how beautiful this shorter woman was, and how much strength she obviously had, enough to put Amber on the ground and snap her like a twig if she wanted. Jace walked over to Mouse and rested a hand on her shoulder. Then he looked at Amber. "You call me a loser," he said quietly. "Yet you lived off this loser's money and shared a bed with said loser. For years, you relied on this same loser only to cheat on me with a guy who, from what the papers say, is heading toward financial ruin. Meanwhile, my woman, the one I love and cherish, the one who just put you on the ground, actually appreciates me. If you're looking for a loser, just check the mirror." Silence settled over the driveway. Amber stared at the happy couple. She didn't want to admit it, but he was right. For the first time in a long time, she saw what she had thrown away. A tear slipped down her cheek as she climbed back into her car and drove off. As her car disappeared in the distance, Mouse rested her head on Jace's shoulder. "You ready for this, handsome?" she asked. Jace cupped her face and kissed her deeply. "Not before we send this place off right," he said. He took Mouse inside what had once been his home, and they made love there for the last time. Later, Jace lay under the blankets with Mouse, thinking about how they had gotten here, how she had helped him through his physical training, how she had guided him through the aftermath of Mark's more brutal sessions, how she'd patched him up when Mark clicked his switches in a fight. Mark had forged him into a weapon, but Kayla had restored his soul, his humanity, his capacity to love. The more time they spent together, the deeper their emotional bond grew. He remembered the night they first made love. She was treating his bruises when he finally asked, "Mouse, I know why Adam and Tony are involved in all this. But why you and your father? What's your history with Travis?" Her usually bubbly, positive attitude hardened. "My dad wasn't always the man he is now," she began. "He was on his way to being a complete loser, if he wasn't there already. He got into fights all the time for the dumbest reasons. The police knew him by his first name. It wasn't until he met my mom, Marlene Foster, that things changed. She volunteered at an animal shelter. Dad was ordered to work there by a judge while he was on probation. Mom came from a religious, conservative family. Dad came from a family that never wanted him bounced from group home to group home. Mom had this way of touching people's souls with her kindness and compassion. But she wasn't a pushover. She would stand up to bullies. I think Dad was just lucky Mom decided to touch his heart too," Kayla said softly. When they were 18, they moved in together. Dad asked her to marry him. A month later, they were husband and wife. Not long after that, Mom told Dad she was pregnant with me. He wanted to be the father he'd never had, and someone Mom and I could be proud of. So he joined the military. Dad was good at what he did. He saw the world, and when he could, he took us with him. We lived on at least 5 bases, if I remember right. Eventually, Dad saw things in war no one should see. It was like a piece of him stayed on every battlefield. But Mom was always the one who could find that piece and bring it back home. She was his sword and shield in a way, not holding his hand, but being his outlet and support, so he didn't end up like so many others. A lot of soldiers made it home because she helped their families, too. After his years of service, Dad retired and helped Mom at the community center she built for families going through hard times. The problem, Kayla went on, was that Travis wanted the lease on that property to put up one of his casinos and clubs. Apparently, it was the perfect spot. Mom and Dad refused, no matter what Travis tried. He couldn't intimidate her or beat her in court because she had every business license and lease backed by the state. When we won that legal battle, I had just gotten into college. I watched my mom stand up to an army of lawyers and gangsters like they were nothing. Then we walked out with the building still ours. Travis couldn't touch it. We thought that was the end of it, she said quietly. We were wrong. That night, Mom went back to the center to grab some papers. Someone was waiting for her. He shot her with a shotgun at close range. Jace wiped away a tear, sliding down Mouse's cheek. I'm so sorry, he whispered. Mouse nodded. Thank you. I was the one who found her. That scumsucker cut her in half with that blast. They couldn't prove who did it, but when Travis magically ended up with the rights to the building, we knew. Dad and I have been watching him ever since. We eventually learned he wasn't just hurting us. He hurt people like Tony, Adam, and you. We knew that, with enough information, we could make Travis pay and do right by everyone he'd hurt. As she spoke, they both became aware of how close their faces had drifted. Mouse's breathing deepened. Jace brushed his hand across her cheek. She did the same to him. They kissed with hunger and tenderness, and that night, they made love for the first time. From that moment on, they were together. Mouse hacked networks and pulled intel whenever Jace and the others knocked over a gang's drop spot. She stopped hackers from using nuclear codes to start a war. She became the eyes and ears of every mission, the silent force behind every trigger pulled in the name of justice against Travis's criminal world. He remembered robbing the mob-controlled bank while Mouse hacked the systems and shut down all power and backup generators, ensuring no one outside could interfere. He recalled her tracking devices picking up chatter about the weapons shipment at the docks, how he and Adam had sniped some of the men and planted explosives in the engine room, preventing the ship from escaping. Mouse had then contacted authorities, helping trigger one of the biggest busts in law enforcement history. He thought about how Adam had killed Monica Vale and her thugs while Mouse looped and crippled the estate's security feeds. All of it, he remembered, with Mouse at his side. Jace's mind drifted back to the present as he lay beside Mouse. She looked even more beautiful when she slept. He nudged her gently. Oh, 15 more minutes. Please, baby, she mumbled. You can have all the sleep you want after the road trip. Beautiful, he said with a smile. Mouse groaned. Okay, fine. In Washington, D.C., Special Agent Andre Collins of the FBI sat at his desk, hating every second of being stuck at headquarters and away from his family. He only tolerated it because sometimes his wife surprised him with visits, staying nearby instead of him rotting in a cheap bureau-paid motel. Today was one of those days. She had texted him which room she was in, assured him that their son was being watched by trusted friends, and sent him a series of flirtatious messages about what she wanted him to do when he got there, complete with a photo of her wearing his favorite shirt and nothing else, her silver streak of hair framing her lovely face. "My God, woman," Andre muttered, smiling down at his phone. "The things you do to me." A knock at the office door pulled him out of his thoughts. "Hey, Andre," another agent said. "Glad I caught you. This package came for you. We screened it, everything's clear." Andre opened it and found a disc with a note taped to it. "Play." He put on his headphones and asked the other agent to close the door. 17 minutes later, he stepped into the hallway. "Get me the director," he said. In New York, the editor of the Global Ledger was having his usual breakfast when he felt something brush his side. He turned quickly but saw no one in the crowd. He looked down and saw a package by his chair. He opened it, and his eyes widened in shock. He grabbed his phone and dialed. "Jake, shut up for a second," he said sharply. "Meeting in 10 minutes. I don't care if they're on vacation, call them in anyway. I just had the story of the century literally drop into my lap." Amber sat in her favorite restaurant with the friends she'd made since she married up. They wore the latest designer clothes and the most expensive jewelry, gossiping over brunch about their boring, privileged lives. Amber wasn't talking. She was still seething over how she'd been humiliated in front of her ex, furious at how smug he had been as if she were nothing. And on top of that, she'd been taken down by her replacement in front of everyone. "I'll make him pay," she thought darkly. "And that little hacker, too. I know a few guys who like it when they fight back. Let's see her use those skills then." Her thoughts were interrupted when a detective entered the restaurant, 2 uniformed officers behind him. "Amber Hale," he said loudly. "You are under arrest for conspiracy and RICO violations. You have the right to remain silent." Amber said nothing as she was cuffed, not out of pride, but in utter shock. Later, when she was finally granted a phone call, she tried to reach Travis, expecting him to fix everything. He didn't answer. He had his own problems. Travis and the remnants of his crew were packing up everything they had. The underworld wanted him dead after too many setups with no answers. Too many high-level kingpins were locked up or dead. Public officials had been dragged away in handcuffs and humiliation. The man who once had all the connections, power, and control was now running from that same power, desperate and panicked. He had one option left for himself and the few still loyal to him: a yacht that had once been a cruise ship. It was his emergency exit. If he could make it to the Caribbean, he had contacts who could make him disappear. Travis climbed into the second SUV and the convoy headed toward the harbor. He didn't care about Amber. He didn't care about his men. He only cared about escaping. Then he noticed the lead SUV stop on an empty stretch of highway. Before he could ask why, he felt a needle jab into his neck. He never saw the other vehicles explode behind him as his own SUV pulled away, leaving a trail of fire and wreckage. When Travis woke up, he was tied to a chair. 5 people stood in front of him, all but one wearing masks. "How you doing, Travis?" Tony asked, his usual weird energy undimmed. "How you feeling? I know it's a little drafty without clothes and all. And to answer the question you haven't asked yet, we're on your yacht, in the middle of the Atlantic. So right now you're wondering why you're here. Well, we all figured it was time for a reunion of sorts." He tilted his head. "Now, to be fair, you don't know us at all, but we're all connected." Travis just stared at them, gagged and confused. "Let me help you with that," Tony said. He flicked a switch on a hidden projector. On the wall, Travis saw the faces of Officer Haley Navarro and her husband, Chris, sitting together at their favorite deli. Travis's face went pale. "You see," Tony said, "this young officer was on her way to shutting your trafficking ring down. She knew you were selling entertainment of the younger type to some very sick people. When she got too close, you paid her a visit. But that wasn't enough. You had her husband beaten to death in front of her, and then you humiliated her by violating her, in her own bed, in her own home. Isn't that right, you piece of garbage?" Travis said nothing. He didn't know what to expect now. Adam stepped forward, holding 2 small baseball bats Lil Sluggers, and handed one to Tony. "You didn't do it alone, of course," Adam said quietly, pulling on gloves as Tony did the same. "You had a little birdie on the inside." He walked aggressively toward Travis. Travis flinched, expecting the bat to swing toward him only to hear muffled sounds behind him. He turned his head as far as he could and froze. A man about 58, in his mid-50s, wearing a casual suit and tie, was dragged into view, bound and gagged. "I'm sure you remember him," Adam said. "Captain Brian Keller. Your captain on speed dial, right? The same captain who gave you all the information my daughter was gathering on you." The bound man gasped when Adam's bat slammed into his sternum, sending him crashing to the floor. "This is the guy who told you how my daughter was building a case against you," Adam went on. "She went to the DA, and he was all for it. But your captain here didn't like the idea of his payday going away." Adam hit him again, harder. Bone cracked. The man groaned in agony through the gag. "So you decided to handle it," Adam said. "You had this piece of trash find some real sorry excuses for men to break into my daughter's home and beat her fiancé. When she tried to stop them, they beat him to death." Tony stepped in and helped, striking the captain repeatedly. Every blow broke something else. The gag slipped loose as he tried to plead. "And after all that," Adam said, eyes burning, "they assaulted her in her own home. Did you hear what I said?" Both Adam and Tony swung their bats low. The captain's scream was high and animal-like as they shattered him completely. She had trusted him. She had respected him. And because of his corruption, she was dead. By the time they stopped, the captain's body was barely breathing, lungs punctured by broken ribs. "Let's get some air," Adam muttered. He picked the captain up, and Tony pushed Travis's chair toward the elevator. The group rode up to the deck. It was pitch black outside. Even through the pain, Travis could tell they were far off the coast, probably 20 miles or more. Midnight air bit at his skin. Adam chained the ship's anchor to the captain and released the base attachment, so it was connected only to the man and not the vessel. The captain, broken and helpless, watched in horror as more and more chains slid overboard. There wasn't enough strength left in him to beg. He vanished into the black water without a splash. "Right," Tony said quietly. "Let's take this back downstairs." Back in the cabin, Travis thrashed, trying to talk. Tony noticed and slowly removed the gag. "I'll give you whatever you want," Travis babbled. "Okay, just please, don't kill me. What do you want? Money? Take it. Take it all." "I have millions actually," Tony said. "You had over 500 billion, including offshore accounts. All hacked. All emptied. It's going to the lives you destroyed." Travis sagged in his chair. He had nothing left. Another image appeared on the projector. A mature, beautiful woman with salt and pepper hair and a warm smile. "Her name was Dana," Adam said softly. "She was my wife." The masked man walked out of frame. When he returned, another man was forced into the room, early 30s, covered in tattoos, one inked just under his eye. His hands were cuffed. Mark raised a custom pistol-grip double-barrel shotgun and fired at close range. The man staggered, slumping down next to Travis. "Please, God, no more," he sobbed. "Don't kill me. Please." Mouse stepped forward. "This is your trigger man," she told Travis. "The one you used to kill my mom. Professional junkie, professional screw-up. Calvin D.O.P. Jenkins. He'd kill anyone for a hit, and he never cared who else got hurt." "Hey, Calvin," she added, voice flat. "How are those perks working out for you now?" Before he could answer, Mark fired again. Calvin's head snapped back, and he went still. Mouse handed the shotgun to the masked man. When he pulled off his mask, Travis stopped breathing for a second. It was Jace. Without a word, Jace shot Travis in the kneecap, obliterating the joint. Then he blew apart his left elbow, taking the forearm with it. Travis writhed on the floor, crying out from the shock and pain. "I'm sorry, okay," he sobbed. "For everything. I never meant for it to go this far. Please, for the love of God, don't kill me." Jace tossed the shotgun next to him. "I'm not going to kill you, Travis," he said. He nodded to the others. They filed out and headed topside. Jace pulled a small remote from his pocket and pressed a button. Small explosions echoed through the hull. Travis felt water seeping around him. Salt water. "You said you weren't going to kill me." Travis screamed. "And I'm not," Jace called back. "I even gave you a chance. I'm pretty sure you can make it if you swim to shore." Jace climbed up to the deck, dropped into the smaller boat tied to the yacht, and motored away. Travis tried to drag himself toward the stairs, but the pain was too much. Water rushed in. With his limbs ruined, he couldn't keep his head above the rising flood. Eventually, the entire lower deck filled. Travis Hale saw nothing but the cold darkness of his watery grave. Months later, Amber was called to the visiting room. Someone wanted to see her. Her time in federal lockup had been hell waiting for trial on heavy charges, listening to other inmates talk about her case when they thought she wasn't listening. She expected her lawyer. Instead, she saw Jace. "What the hell are you doing here?" she demanded. Jace's face was unreadable. "I'm here for two things," he said. "To set my conscience and to set sail. First, conscience. I have evidence in my possession that ties you to a whole lot of crimes. Some major. Human trafficking being one of the biggest. They're looking to put you away until you leave in a box. I know your lawyer told you it's none of your business how I got that evidence." He shrugged. "But I've got a friend coming in a few minutes. He's bringing another friend, the U.S. District Attorney. They're going to offer you a deal. Instead of spending the rest of your life behind bars, they're offering you 30 years if you testify against your client, the empire you and Travis built over the years. You'll still go to prison, but you'll be in a protected witness custody program. You'll get older, but I think you've got a chance to make it to about 72. He leaned in slightly, his voice turning to ice. "Just know this. If you ever get out, and you make the mistake of tracking me or my family down, it'll be the last mistake you ever make, Amber." A cold chill ran up her spine. One look at his eyes told her he meant every word. "Or," Jace said, straightening, "you can refuse the deal. Serve your life sentence in one of the toughest prisons this country can dig up. I'm sure some of your old associates will find you eventually. That won't end well for you." Amber knew she had no choice. She nodded weakly. Jace turned to leave. "Wait," she blurted. He stopped. Was it worth it?" she whispered. Jace's question cut through her thoughts. "Was it worth it?" he asked quietly. She didn't answer. She only cried. She cried for what she had squandered and taken for granted, for the lust for power and vice that turned out to be nothing but illusion. What she mocked and kicked aside with Jace had been real. Everything with Travis had been smoke. "Goodbye, Amber," Jace said. He walked out of the room and out of her life. As the next year passed, the world reeled from a tidal wave of criminal scandals. Organizations across the globe were exposed and dismantled. Crime bosses, celebrities, and public officials were all arrested and prosecuted, charged with bribery, solicitation, exploitation, narcotics crimes, even accessory to murder. Members of Congress, parliamentarians, and even royals had cases opened against them. Amber's testimony was invaluable to the convictions. In return, she was sentenced to 22 years in federal prison under protective custody. When it was all over, more than 3,000 people had been convicted worldwide, with sentences ranging from 25 years to death. Elsewhere, Jace held Mouse's hand as she screamed through labor. "It's okay, baby. You can do this," he said. "Just one more push, beautiful. One more." Mouse gritted her teeth and pushed with all her strength. Their daughter entered the world first, her cries piercing the room. A moment later, her twin brother followed, just as loud. Jace bent down and kissed his wife. "I love you so much, baby," he whispered. Mouse cried tears of joy. "I love you too, baby," she said. "I love you both." Jace stepped into the waiting room. "Twins," he announced, grinning. "A boy and a girl." Mark Hanley walked over and hugged his son-in-law, tears in his eyes. Tony shouted with joy, and Adam just smiled, emotion tight in his throat. "So what are their names?" Mark asked. Jace looked at Adam and Tony. "Their names are Haley and Chris," he said. Adam couldn't hide his tears as he hugged Jace. Tony cried openly. "I think Adam's a bit overwhelmed," Tony joked weakly. "So I'll say the obvious, thank you, Jace. Thank you both. Those kids are going to have more protection than the president." "Wouldn't have it any other way," Jace replied, hugging him back. Eventually, everyone was allowed into the room to see Mouse and the babies. Jace noticed this was the first time he'd ever seen Adam truly smile. He cherished it. Later that night, visiting hours over, Jace lay beside his wife. Their newborn twins slept quietly in the bassinet next to their bed. He kissed Mouse's cheek. She hummed and turned toward him. "Thank you," she murmured. He felt a tear slide down his own face. "Baby, what's wrong?" she asked softly. "Thank you for what?" Jace smiled. "Thank you for giving me the impossible," he said. "Thank you for giving me a family that loves me the way I love them." Mouse began to cry too. She kissed him gently. "You're most welcome, my love," she whispered. "Thank you for being our family." The newlywed couple fell asleep in each other's arms, their family just beginning. They didn't know what kind of world they would wake up to. All that mattered was this. Whatever it was, they would face it together. That's the end of today's story. If you haven't yet, please like the video, subscribe, and turn on the bell. What are your thoughts? Share them in the comments. We read them all. And thanks for watching. You're always welcome here.